Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvina Vadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Namaskar. Welcome to Hinduism in Focus. Let us think today, talk about a little on human destiny, and a little on the purpose of this physical birth upon earth. And so we are often told or reminded of the true significance of this earthly life, this earthly sojourn. Many people do not know it, or many people do not seem to care about it. 1 in a million may be concerned. That may be put it too harshly. Maybe 1 in every 100 may be concerned about knowing the purpose of life. To be concerned about knowing the purpose of being born upon earth is, however, the first step for the journey towards this ultimate goal. Many persons today, especially younger generation, are content to regard things like eating, drinking, sleeping, dressing the body, having a good time, and rearing a family as the main aims of living. All these, without doubt, are necessary to some extent. All but they alone cannot contribute to peace of mind or the fullness of life. Bhagavan Krishna has told us in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Nat yash nat tasyo yogosti nat chaikhan tamah nashnataha nachati swapnashilasya jagrato naivacharjuna yuktahara viharasya yukta chetastasya karmasu yuktas swapnaval bodhasya yogo bhavati dukhaha. Yoga, what we call spiritual discipline or disciplined life, is not for that person who gorges himself, who eats too much, nor for him who eats too little. It is not for him who sleeps too much or too little. The disciplined life is one which rids one of misery, is accomplished only by him who is regulated in his diet, regulated in his recreation, regulated in performing action, and regulated in his sleeping and his waking. So this phenomenon of the external world, a phenomenon is something that we see, the eye see, the ears hear, and the mind recognize, cognize. But all these are sensory phenomena. Beyond the senses, what is called the indriyas, is a mind. And greater than the mind is the intellect, we call it the buddhi. The intellect is governed by the inner divine being, what we call the atma. Indriyani parayahur indriyebhya param manaha manasastu parabuddhir yo buddhe paratastu saha. Bhagavad Gita. The senses are greater than the body, but greater than the senses is our mind. Greater than the mind is the intellect, and he, the self, the Atma, is greater than the intellect. The human destiny is therefore, our destiny is to realize ourselves, what we call realization. A self-realized person is a God-realized person. It is referred to as God-realization also. The most powerful among these organs is the mouth. We all know that, which has the power of speech and consuming food. When the mouth is under the control of the mind, what happens? All other senses can be controlled. Speech should therefore be restrained as much as possible. Then the attention of the mind should be diverted towards the buddhi, the intellect. which has the power of discrimination, making choices. When the intellect is turned towards the Atma within, the individual's indwelling spirit, it begins to realize the all-pervading Spirit God. In this world, only a few enjoy the bliss of the Atma, the joy of the Spirit within us. The inextricable connection between the phenomenal world outside, the physical world of things that we see and touch and experience, and the inner world of consciousness inside, they elude the understanding of many of us. Immersed in the desire for the enjoyment of worldly pleasures, we do not attempt to discover the boundless joy to be derived from the inner spirit. This is because all our sense organs are open only to experiences from outside. It is not surprising, therefore, that the common people are subject to the outward vision only. Only a few develop the inner vision and thereby enjoy spiritual bliss. What the Gita tells us, out of every 1,000 persons, only a few try to know me. And out of those few, just again, out of those few, a lesser percentage will meet the goal of really realizing whom I am. Let us ask our question. Is it the body that derives joy from looking at a thing of beauty? Or is it the Atma? What is it that relishes the food that we eat, we should ask? The body or the spirit within us? What is it that enjoys the fragrance or is moved by companionship? Inquiring in this matter, it will be found that it is the Atma, the spirit, indwelling spirit, that is the enjoyer. The body doesn't enjoy anything, and not the physical body. The body by itself is gross and is incapable of experiencing joy. It must be realized that the Spirit of God goes beyond, it transcends the mind and the intellect and pervades the entire universe. We must always remember that. The Spirit, therefore, is the basis for the cognition of the external world and experiencing the inner world. The Spirit is that. It is the Spirit that experiences these. The limbs of sciences of the Vedas, they were called the limbs or the sciences were called the Vedangas. Knowledge as such, as like physics, chemistry, biology, literature, music, etc., etc. All fields of knowledge, all branches of knowledge, are related to this phenomenal world. They belong to the category which is called aparavidya, the lower form of knowledge. We devote ourselves mainly to these areas of studies. Check it out. There is, however, a higher form of knowledge, or the supreme knowledge, which is referred to as paravidya. So, aparavidya, worldly knowledge, is pursued mainly for earning a living. Is important. It is important. Worldly knowledge is important, but should be used also to understand the world in which we live and our place in the world. Worldly knowledge, when properly understood, exists to point the way to spiritual awareness. Without spiritual knowledge, all other knowledge is of little or no value. Every person has therefore to inquire every moment about the purpose and goal of human life. eating, drinking, sleeping, and relaxing, what do you say, passing time, are for the maintaining the body. Very important, but for what purpose? These cannot be the reason or meaning of human life. All these are also common to birds and beasts as well. Our scripture tells us, the Vashishta, Yoga Vashishta. Pleasure and pain of the senses are common to both human beings as well as the birds and the animals. But the attainment of eternal bliss, God realization, by means of spiritual knowledge is a distinct aim of man's life. So what is the uniqueness, we should ask, of a human being? He is endowed with faculties which can enable him to rise above the animal to the human level and then to the divine level. We born as child of man, then we elevate ourselves to a child of God. Then we move on to the spirit level when we say we and God are one. We become merged in that supreme being. Kolam pavitram janani kritartha vasundhara punyavati chatena apara samvit sukha sagare smil linam pare brahmani yasya chita. This Skanda Purana says, the earth becomes blessed by being trodden by a man whose mind has become merged in God. This earth says it becomes blessed, walked upon by a holy person. His very race is sanctified by such a sight, and speech and conversation with such a person become hallowed, holy. There is no wonder then if the mother who gave him birth is redeemed thereby by his birth. Our lives must therefore be with some useful purpose and not lived in vain. The Bhagavad Gita warns us, he who does not follow the wheel of creation, thus said, go in the world, that is, does not perform his human duties, sinful and sensual, he lives in vain. Let us therefore not live in vain, but make some contribution to this world to make it a better place for mankind. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om.